We got a couple big topics here. The big one that we actually had Robert come down for, so we should get to that before we run out of time, which was about your travels.
Yes,
I travel. You traveled the world like Charles Kuralt to share
often for us, and sometimes not for us, but for various stories that Robert writes.
Usually the last second.
What have you been to, like, just for the overview?
Well, where did you go to see The Witcher?
I went to Warsaw, Poland, to see the Witcher. I went to Kiev, Ukraine, and to Chernobyl for Stalker.
Oh, fuck, that's right. You went to Chernobyl. What
Yeah.
the hell are you doing here? We let him in here.
It's like a
It's
Geiger-
all radioactive now.
It's like a Geiger counter at
That's
the
what
door.
they're sounding in these headsets.
Yeah.
They make you pass through a radioactivity detector before you leave. So
Do they
I'm
really?
so
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is that just
Wow.
for show? Just part of your tourist
No,
package?
they will definitely stop you there. So
It'd be awesome if we were sitting down here now podcasting and like we could see Robert's like skeleton start to glow through his skin here.
That's what
I
happens.
did develop special powers from visiting Chernobyl, but I can't explain them to you. They're very personal. But yeah, I also I've been to Shanghai a couple of times. I've been to Helsinki. Yeah,
What's up in Helsinki?
That's enough. That's
That's plenty.
Alan Wake. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What I want to
Wow.
hear about first, though, in all of your many tales, is
Yeah.
it doesn't involve. Well, it comes back around to work some way. But you recently went to France and Italy.
Yeah, so I
So
went.
take me to that train, man. Put me on that train.
So we had summer vacation with my wife's family, the in-laws, the granny trip as it's called, to France and Italy, and we ended up taking this night train from Paris to Venice, and all the rest of the family gets on a sleeper car to themselves, 6 beds. I end up in one with a stranger, in first class though, which is nice. But I end up hanging out in the family car until late at night, sort of sneaking into my bed with the stranger in the room. Late at night. Sounds terrible. But you know, I sleep sort of until about 6 in the morning and start, hearing this knocking at the door, really insistent knocking, and I figure it must be the train porter because I hadn't had my ticket checked or my passport or anything. And once I get the door open, I see him there, and his face just like freaks the fuck out. Like he's like, whoa, and grabs me by the shoulders, rips me out of the room, and I'm just totally
Like
dazed. Physically rips me out of the room and starts jabbing on me like this, right? He's like, palm out, poking me in the chest and screaming at me in Italian. Every once in a while saying, no, get out. Wow. And I'm like, whoa, I have a ticket. I'm screaming, I have a ticket. I'm rummaging through my pockets, and I can't find my ticket. And he's just, pushing me around, slapping me around. I'm looking for the ticket. He gets fed up, I guess, with what he was doing, and he runs back to his little office there. And do you guys know what an espresso machine's like portafilter looks like? It's the thing that you put the coffee in.
Yeah.
It's a big metal handle.
Right.
It's really hot. And he grabs.
He's running down the hall.
He comes at me. He comes at me with this thing
crap.
and starts beating me in the arms with it, in the biceps, which I got burned because it was hot. I mean,
shit,
I was
that's
bruised.
We're checking it
Yeah,
out.
it's old now. This is like a month
Gotta
ago.
fucking tax
but I
this
was
country.
I was like
Gotta
covered
nuke
in
these fuckers.
I was covered in bruises and everything. But the whole time I'm just thinking, like, I can't do anything because I'm in the middle of nowhere in a foreign country, and this guy could just kick me off the train. So I'm trying to block him and everything. Finally, I run into my room and I find the ticket on the little end table in there, and I give it to him. And it doesn't even like settle him down. He just starts screaming like, "Yesterday, it must be yesterday," and like just having a fit. And I give him my passport, and after he, I guess, is satisfied with his amount of screaming at me, he leaves. And I sit there on my bed, and of course my bunkmate is awake, and this is where the story gets weird. Because my bunkmate's awake, and I'm like, man, that was really fucking crazy. And he was like, yeah, and we start having this normal conversation. He's got a British accent. I ask him where he's from, and he says he's from L.A., or that's where he lives now. And I was like, oh, what do you do? He says, I make video games. I'm a game programmer. And I'm like, no shit. I write about video games in San Francisco, mostly for the Ziff Davis people. And
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, and he goes, wait, what's your name? And I was like, Robert Ashley. And he's like, hey, yeah. And it turns out the guy is a programmer for Activision. Turns out he worked on the game True Crime New York, which was a really like steaming pile of crap game. Like, and I panned it in a review, and actually it was worse than that because while I was playing it, while I was playing it, I got all these crash bugs, and so I had to be in contact with the PR people who were calling them and complaining about these crash bugs just to verify this stuff. And so he was getting like harassed by my stuff.
Holy shit!
But it was so like what Sean calls waja. It's so embarrassing. It's 6 a.m. I've been beaten by a train porter, and he starts telling me about how because the game got such terrible Metacritic ratings that they didn't get their bonus for the game and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh god,
this is like
He
the
grabs
best
the
story
copy
ever.
handle.
Yeah.
but
So
I,
is this guy happy you got beat?
it
This
was
is
probably
like every developer's dream. What happens to a critic who pans their game?
I bet there was a little bit of like fantasy fulfilled in it.
Fuck you.
But he was
Yeah.
nice. It was just weird.
He's like, I should have mocapped that.
Wait, did you ever find out why this guy was beating you?
Well, because I showed up late at night. I didn't have my ticket checked. He thought that I was coming from one of the second class seats without a bed, and that I had come into the room and
you
slept.
snuck up in the first class.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And so
That deserves a burning and a beating.
But also the guy was a psychopath.
Well, yeah, apparently, because
You like
you can
complain to
handle
like his
that
boss or
transaction
something?
without beating
No,
someone.
we were actually we had a lot of trouble in Italy. And you don't just go and like start trouble with a train porter unless he did avoid hitting me in the head, which I appreciated, and I just let it be because we were like extorted later by another train porter. It's crazy over there.
Yeah, the guy could have been like mobbed up or something. You know?
well,
Dude, he's Italian. Of course he was.
That's what I mean. Aren't they all in the mafia?
I play video games.
Either that or he
I
makes
play
pizza.
true
That's
crime.
what I've learned from TV and games. They're all in the
But-
mafia.
But yeah, it was.
Or
it
they're
was really,
plumbers.
the funny
And they-
thing is that's the second time
Or they
it's
make
happened to me
pizza.
because on the trip to see Penny Arcade, the game in Vancouver. Although this was less embarrassing, I went to Hothead Games and there's this guy there. A lot of the people there worked for Radical, and there's this guy Joel DeYoung who is like the one. I don't know if he owns the place. He's a producer. He runs the studio. And over lunch, he was talking about their last game being this Crash Bandicoot racing game, which I had reviewed really badly. And he was talking about how
Nice.
game journalists didn't get it and stuff. And he and
You
I
either
was,
get it or you don't, dude.
I was
You gotta love that
I
response.
don't get CTR.
But I was lucky enough for him to not realize that I had been on the review,
Rad.
so I felt okay about that. But yeah.
So hit me up with.
God damn, that story.
I got-
that's
I
really
gotta-
that's a great story.
So going back to that train ride for a second with the dude from Activision. Once that revelation happens, you just kind of sit there going, so that's like.
Oh,
the
I got up and
that's-
left.
That's like
We-
the longest 6 hours,
we-
like to the next stop or something.
we were 3 hours away from Venice still, and I'd had barely any sleep, and I just got up and I went back to the family car and crammed into this little seat. Everyone else is sleeping, and I spent 3 hours like this under a bunk.
Wow.
Just
I hope you left
nursing
him
my
with like
wounds.
and you'd still get a 6 today, fucker.
I think it was a 3.
Oh, a 3.
Yeah,
You got
so-
swindled while you were on assignment for us in Shanghai, right?
I did that.
that
did?
made the story too. That was the
Yeah.
the tea incident.
That-
Oh yeah, that was,
that
before
makes-
that too, though. Like, I mean, even on I thought coming out of the train station, some fool tried to take your bags.
Oh, that was later in the trip actually. Like
Wait, so what story was this for?
This was for the
Splinter
game
Cell.
Splinter Cell.
Okay.
Jeez, whatever.
Double agent?
Whichever
Double
one
agent-
it
It
was.
was the double agent
Yeah.
cover story.
Yeah, there we go. And
Convicting effect.
Splinter Cell, whatever.
but it was I'm a total fool I guess, but I was out in this really populated part of Shanghai near People's Park, which if anyone knows Berkeley's People's Park,
Yeah.
it's a lot nicer in
Oh, that's
in
good.
China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nobody dead in the park.
no crazy cracked out people asking you
Yep.
for change.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just walking around. I'd been to the museum, and I was walking, and there was a couple next to me who seemed just like another young couple out doing their thing, and I ended up having a conversation with them, and we talk, having the sort of normal, stupid, like foreign guy in a stranger in a foreign land conversation about, hey, how do you live here? This is how I live back home. And we're having
Do
this
you
long...
like hamburgers?
Yeah, it was like that. And they talked about, they were students from out of town, blah 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 blah. We ended up going to get tea at a tea house. They're like, you want to go get some tea? We know a good spot to get some tea. And we go have this tea ceremony. I'm thinking like the whole time, this is like great. I'm in the culture. I'm meeting people. I'm discovering Chinese tea. I've tried all these amazing teas. They're explaining all these legends about teas. It's great. We get the bill afterwards, and the bill is like $200.
Fuck.
Right? Which I hadn't thought the entire time. I'm like, I'm in China. I can afford tea. But it was so awkward, and I didn't even get it at that point because I'm stupid.
Hold on. I got to interrupt you. Are we late?
No.
No.
Okay, we're
fine.
getting dirty looks from the fucker who always gives us dirty looks for being late.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So go on.
Sorry, keep going.
No problem. So we end up making this agreement that they're going to pay for the extra tea that we bought to take home afterwards, and that knocked like $50 off the price. And I left and said I'd meet up with them later. I still didn't get it because I'm an idiot. And about 15 minutes after I left their company, I'm walking down Nanjing Road, which is kind of the Broadway of Shanghai, and there's a lot of hucksters out there, and I didn't really realize it. And about 15 minutes later, a couple walk up to me with the exact same story.
Oh my God!
And to the point of the conversation was similar. Like, what kind of music do you like? And their answer was the Eagles.
Hotel California.
Both couples said the Eagles. It was
Maybe
really...
the Eagles are just big over there.
No, you told them you're from California, though, didn't you?
Exactly.
I did.
That's
I did. Yeah,
They might have had a different answer if you were from Texas. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know?
Well,
ZZ
so
Top.
I guess the first mistake was having the cowboy boots and the
the big smile, the big stupid smile on my face. I mean, the second time I went to Shanghai, I ran into those people a million times, and every time I would just kind of mess with them. They would ask me where I'm from, and I would say Shanghai, and they'd say, oh, and then walk away. And and I would just sort of lead them on, because they're all out there trying to everywhere you go. If you stick out there, you're
just
being sold things constantly.
You ever ask them right up the bat, hey, can I buy you some tea?
I just go up to actual people.
Just start asking them.
You guys want to go get some tea?
Just cut out the middleman. Just go straight to
The
it.
first time I was in France, I got off the train, and some guy was basically hustling me for money, and he was giving me this whole story about how I was very young and 6, in fact. No, I was actually 22, and he was giving me his whole sob story about whatever, he lost his thing, just the kind of story you get from everyone everywhere. But because he was saying it to me in broken English, I stupidly was thinking he must be telling the truth, because he's trying through the barrier of another language to tell me how hard he's had it.
Yeah.
So I handed him what was probably $20 American, and this is normally someone you might give a quarter to or something, and I could tell he actually looked bad. Yeah, he looked like he felt bad when I gave him that much money. I can't take this much. You're too stupid. I'm going to give you change for that.
Yeah,
because I just hucked you too bad.
So he peels out this wad of bills.
Yeah. Here's a tip for you, son.
That happened to me on the BART when I first moved out here. There's the lady who is always on the BART asking for money.
Oh shit,
for
we've
medication.
seen her every time.
Yeah, I
she
don't
comes
like
in.
her.
You take the same train as us.
I gave her $10
She's in
once.
Yeah, I've caught that same thing twice in a single day, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, back on the other thing, you have a good story from Warsaw that you told me that involves someone that works for GamePro.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you could drop that on
Can we
me.
make fun of the competition?
No, it's not
It's
making
not
fun of
making
him.
fun of him.
It's
It's like
actually
he's just a player.
No, there's this.
It just involves
Yeah.
the game industry.
Okay,
And,
so what were you doing in Warsaw? What was this for?
We were there for The Witcher.
this is Waja. I like this shit right
Man,
here.
you get to go all over the world. It's so cool.
I'm incredibly cool.
The fuck are we doing in this job?
Be a freelancer. It's amazing. The main thing is the money. You
You're
guys
pretty
just
loaded,
don't see
right?
the kind of green. That
Yeah, you got a
freelancer-
big fat roll there.
Yeah.
I know what we pay you.
That's your money
Yeah,
roll, right?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But we were there to see The Witcher, and we're staying at the Hotel Ibis, and after we'd seen the game, we go out to dinner at this kind of, I don't know, Polish roadhouse type place where you have like traditional Polish food and a lot of alcohol, like so much alcohol, of course. And not that I was fine, but there were a lot of people getting extremely wasted. One of which was this French journalist guy who nobody seemed to know where he was from or who he was with, but he was like incredibly drunk. And by the end of the night, I'm
Did
sitting
he have
there
a black
with this,
turtleneck? That's an
yeah,
important
no,
piece.
yeah. The other thing is, it was so
Important
stereotypical.
detail.
He was
It's very important
he
detail.
was wearing a black turtleneck.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Did he have a beret?
No,
He had
no.
one of those mustaches.
No, he was black turtleneck,
And an
glasses,
accordion.
tall, skinny guy.
Yeah.
But I had been hanging out all night with this guy Andy from GamePro, a cool kid, like 19 or 20, mohawk, very stylish, which may have brought this on. But but at the in the bus on the way to go back to the hotel, everyone's talking about let's go out clubbing, and which is totally fun in Warsaw. But this French guy like attaches himself to our group. And as we're leaving the bus, he looks to Andy, the Mohawk guy with me, and goes, "I'm going to fuck you tonight." And spent the
Wow.
no, seriously.
I had no idea the story was going in that direction at all.
That's a left turn. I didn't-
No, it was a left turn for everybody.
Whoa.
I've retold this one so many times to other people, and my version always emphasizes like what you told me at first is that as soon as you landed, first thing the cab driver was doing was like emphasizing that he could get you women. Did you want to go to because to
Mail order
set up
brides
this
everywhere.
environment of sex? Because he also said the GamePro guy was just like way convinced that he was going to score big with the Polish women.
The
because he was an
deal
American.
was because there was this guy from Atari who had gone out clubbing the night before and like swore up and down that he had 3 women that were all over him because he said he was an American. So that it born this idea.
Yeah, because we're so popular over there.
Yeah. Actually, we're pretty popular in Poland.
Poland pretty
There are
popular.
more Poles in America than there are in Poland now, and there are a few reasons for that are not funny, but I mean that's a fact.
But
There are.
that's what inspired the club visit, and the whole thing was just so. I mean, because the French guy came with us, he forced his way into this whole thing, and he kept on in the club, like going up to everybody and trying to dance on them, and like getting in everyone's face. And
So did this
he ended up
GamePro
getting
guy get lucky with the French guy?
no, the GamePro guy was running his game on the Polish ladies and avoiding him very successfully. The French guy ended up getting kicked out for something that happened in the bathroom. One can only guess.
Don't want to dwell.
So
Yeah.
So,
I got a story. One time I traveled like across the city to my friend's house, and we used to always play GoldenEye N64, which was like surprising to people because I'm such a PC shooter whore now. But that was where I got my start, and he would always play. This piece of shit would always play Grace Jones. Like, what's her character's name?
Mayday?
Mayday. Yeah, he would always play Mayday, and like. He would get so mad because we'd always go for him. We'd like shoot Mayday. It's a big, tall fucking
tall one,
character
yeah.
standing out. So one time he's just like, "Fuck you! You fucking quit getting me!" And I was like, "Grace under fire, dude."
Wow.
But that shit was truly funny back then. Man.